In days like this, where there's so much tragedy and trauma, so much upheaval socially, economically, biologically, and so many crises in terms of natural disasters, it is important for us to know how to engage people at their point of need. When there's been a tragedy or trauma, when there's been a loss or grief, how can we be with people in a way that really provides help and healing? The first thing I think that we should think about is what is moving us. It's important to know your motive. The Apostle Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians that chapter 13 that we can have all knowledge, we can understand all mysteries, we can have the gift of prophecy, we can give our bodies to be burned, but if we don't have love, it profits nothing. Love is our motive. A heart of compassion is really what moved Jesus in connecting with people in a powerful way. The old saying is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. The Apostle Paul encourages us in 2 Corinthians to be moved by the love of Christ. Listen to what he says in the 5th chapter of 2 Corinthians, verses 14 through 18. For Christ's love compels us, because we are convinced that one died for all, therefore all died. And he who died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised again. So from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, Paul says, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old is gone, the new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. Paul's proposing that if we really understand the love of God that sent Jesus to reconcile ourselves to him, that same love will compel us, will move us out into the world just as it compelled Jesus to come from heaven to the earth. Compassion is our heart for the hurting. Obviously, it's easy to lose sight of our goal. Sometimes we get too wrapped up in results to remember that the actions that we take are important, even if they don't give the result that we wish for. If our goal is to be helpful, to be the hero, to fix it, we may be set up for a lot of frustration. But if we're moved by God to do the things that he asks us to do, then we can focus on the actions that we take and find great satisfaction in doing the work of God. Just like Jesus said, to do the will of God is my food and my drink. Even more powerfully, if we stay anchored in our identity as ministers of reconciliation, then it's out of that flow from our identity that we move into engagement with other people. As Jesus says in the parable of the sower went out to sow. That's who we are. We are reconcilers. We are ministers of good news. And as we flow from that identity into behaviors that reflect God's love, then we can be confident that the results will follow as God intends. As in the parable of the sower, some of the people we minister to may or may not receive what we have to offer. But in some cases, the reward will be great. Obviously, compassion for others is vital. But it turns out that we have to start with a heart of compassion toward ourselves. If we have not learned to be kind to ourselves when we fall down, learned to be accepting of ourselves when we fall short, learned to show affection to ourselves even when we don't deserve it, we will be hard-pressed to be with others in a way that generates the sense of full acceptance and attunement and acknowledgement that people so deeply desire. If you've never understood or looked at the concept of self-compassion, please go to self-compassion.org and take the self-assessment quiz there. The website is an outgrowth of work by Kristen Neff at UT Austin. And it helps us learn that having compassion for ourselves provides us the best framework and launching pad from which to meet the needs of others. Having a place of warmth where we experience God's love for us internally frees us to be channels of that love for others. So take a look at that. Do some work at fostering a sense of self-compassion. And as you go into the world working with other people, let that compassion flow through you. Know your motive. Let love be the key, and let the love of Christ compel you in all you do.
Thank you for joining us for our most recent installment of Westcliff. I want to let you know, as we continue to produce content to make Jesus known to the very ends of the earth, your gifts and contributions to this ministry are greatly appreciated. It's not something you're obligated to do, it's just something that we ask that you would prayerfully consider. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next week.